Hello and welcome back to KXAN Plus. I'm your host, Esmeralda Zamora, and today we have our Simple Health segment like we do every Monday. Thanks so much for joining us if you're joining us live or if you're watching us on our streaming app. Thanks for being here. With me today to do our Simple Health show is our Jose Torres, KXAN Simple Health expert. Jose, thanks for joining me. How are you doing?
Thank you, Esme. I'm doing great. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome Monday vibes, right? Before we get forward, we have a lot of guests here in the studio with us, but I do want to touch on what Simple Health is and why we do that here. Can you please give us a brief rundown of what Simple Health is and why we cover Simple Health here at KXAN?
Yeah, so here at KXAN, we try to empower you with information about new medical treatments and give you some hope in case you or your family member are dealing with an unusual illness and you want to know more about it. We provide you with information that is easy to digest. Over the last year, we've brought you stories about how a simple blood test can let you know if you have you might have colon cancer. Or just recently, we talked about a new invasive procedure that is an alternative to open heart surgery. So we'd like to bring you those type of stories to empower you with information and let you know that there are services out there to help you or maybe a loved one who might be living through a stressful situation.
And today is no exception. We have a great story, but we also have some guests in the studio. Can you introduce who our guests are here with us?
Yeah, we are making history. We have Jenna Ream right there with her little baby, Viera. And we also have Dr. Shreetha Kasala from Baylor, Scott and White in Round Rock. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. The reason why we have our special guests here today, we are talking about NICU awareness, and September is NICU Awareness Month. And Jenna and Vera have an amazing story to tell us. Jenna, start us off by telling us about your journey the last couple of months.
Thank you for having us. Our journey hasn't been a necessarily easy one, very chaotic. I was pregnant with Vera, and I went in for a regular OB appointment at 34 weeks gestation. And after being reviewed and telling the doctor I don't feel very well, and after the doctor looking at me and looking at Vera, she informed me that Vera was going to be born within 30 minutes. So I had 30 minutes to emotionally, mentally prepare. My mom was on the way. They were wheeling me to the OR. And I said, can you just wait for my mom? She's in the parking lot. And the doctor said, nope, and just kept wheeling me. It was that emergent. And my mom did make it. She was able to hold my hand as we took a few steps into the OR. And little baby Vera was born. I got to see her for just a second before she was whisked away by a rather large team to the NICU. And then from there, my husband followed her to the NICU, and I started my healing journey. I went over to the postpartum unit. And after a couple of days, I was on magnesium, so I wasn't stable enough to go see her in the NICU. But after a day or two of me starting to heal, I was actually able to go see her and see my little baby girl. She was in the NICU with her CPAP and feeding tube and IVs and all the different, helpful things that were getting her to be healthy. And that ended up being a 35-day stay in the NICU. And now we are home. She was born at 5 pounds. She's now 9 pounds. And she is a healthy, growing, happy baby girl.
And this is also a special day, Esmeralda, because today is a reunion for Dr. Kasala and Jenna.
Really? Wow.
This is the first time you guys see each other after that beautiful moment of recovery at the NICU. Doctor, tell us how you stepped into their lives and started their journey of togetherness.
It's very exciting to see Vera, Jenna family doing so good at home, thriving, growing. That's all we, want babies after discharge from NICU. And yes, so for any baby to be admitted to NICU is a very, very stressful journey. And I describe it as a roller coaster ride where they're doing really good and they don't do good. So they go back and forth. and it's a very, very long journey. And Vida did great throughout, passed through the critical illness in the first 72 hours, required some respiratory support, weaned off, did good, breathing comfortable, needing some help with the feeding tube. And, she finally got to go home after like 35 days in the NICU. And we are very glad to see her growing and thriving well.
So this NICU center came at a really important time for Jenna because it's brand new. It opened up in June. And if it had opened up a little later, the bonding moment between you and little baby Vieira, Jenna, would have been quite different, right?
Yes, it would have been extremely different. Before the NICU at Baylor, Scott and Wright Round Rock was open, Vera would have had to go to Temple. So quite, to about 2 hours away. She would have to go there. And since I wasn't even able to go visit her in the NICU at the hospital, I definitely would have not been able to go visit her up in Temple for quite a few days. So the word grateful doesn't even begin to explain how I feel about having her in that wonderful brand new NICU just across the hallway from the postpartum unit. If I had to go to Temple, I don't even know how emotional I would be today for sure.
And here are some pictures you provided. Walk us through these pictures right here.
Yeah, I mean, so that's my view of Vera when I first really got to see her. I got to see her without all of the items on her face when she was originally born, but that was for a couple of moments at best. And then she went straight to the NICU and got that CPAP machine, which takes over her nose. There's a cap that is involved, so that takes over her head, and then she has a feeding tube in her mouth. So I wasn't exactly sure how she looked necessarily. I didn't know what her characteristics looked like, but after a few days, we were able to change the CPAP. She got it taken off, and I got to see her beautiful little face, and we got to see her and just cherish her. And yeah, if you want to talk more about the CPAP and items on her.
Yeah,
Yes.
what are those items?
So, yes, so whenever baby comes to NICU, they just have lots of lines and tubes. They have, a PIV, which is a peripheral IV to give some extra fluids and nutrition. And on the face, they have an orange tube, which is an NG tube feed to support feedings because babies who are born premature cannot bottle feed right away. So they need help through the feeding tube. And then in the nose, you would see initially some babies need CPAP. So you would see a mask with some gear support on the head, which is like a big covering on the face. And on the chest, you see a lot of monitors to monitor their temperature, blood pressures, and heart rate, breathing numbers. So to me, when parents are going home or closer to going home, I say these are the things, like one tube comes off at a time, like first the breathing, then the feeding tube, and slowly they come off the monitors, and they also get to spend a night in one of our rooms, which is like a bedroom, very similar to like at home, just to make sure parents are very comfortable to care for the babies without any extra leads or monitors.
And Jenna, walk us through the moment where they told you, all right, we have to bring baby soon. What went through your mind? What were your thoughts?
Well, it was very intimidating for sure. They tell me I have 30 minutes. My husband, it was a regular OB appointment. So at no point did I expect that to be the outcome. My dad was at home watching my 3-year-old son. So our first phone call was to my father saying, okay, it's baby day. He had, some anxiety that went with that because he couldn't do anything because he was watching our 3-year-old. So I'm like, just stay home, keep Milo happy, keep Milo normal. And then my mom, thankfully, was already out on the road. So she was close enough to be able to get to us because we live about 45 minutes away. So she was able to get to us in that 30-minute time frame, just barely, just by a hair. She was able to see me. But we kind of had to spread the word. Okay, it's baby day. Everybody prepare for that. My husband did the best that he could. I had 14 nurses working on me. From that point, I was immediately wheeled into labor and delivery where I had 14 nurses. They the doctor told Caleb, okay, you can have that corner of the room over there. And I had nurses up each arm, 2 different IVs, all sorts of different medications, all sorts of things I had to sign. So I had to get that all handled. So I didn't even really have my husband to support me necessarily. He was just kind of in the background waving as I got prepared. And then wheeled to the OR. My husband was able to go into the OR, so I was very grateful for that. He was able to, be close to me. There was a couple of students that were there, and I said, all right, hug me. And they were like, okay, since they were actually there, and they were hugging me while I was getting my spinal tap, all the different things, my spinal. But yeah, it was that 30 minutes. I mean, it went by very, very quickly. She was here very quickly. She was whisked away very quickly. It was very, very fast. But it turned out perfect. I had such a wonderful team. The doctor who delivered her was perfect, wonderful. Dr. Casala, the people who took her to the NICU. So I just had a lot of faith in that, and I just relaxed. And I said, she's being taken care of. My husband's with her. I need to focus on me now. But yeah, it was just trying to figure out quite a bit very quickly.
Dr. Casala, tell us about preeclampsia. Are there warning signs? We talked about that a little bit earlier, how sometimes those warning signs could be also because, feelings of pregnancy or...
Yes. So preeclampsia is one of the conditions resulting in preterm delivery or births, in addition to preterm labor. But it's one of those conditions that can present anytime after 20 weeks of gestation age. And there may not be any alarming symptoms, and they may be symptoms very similar to pregnancy, like headache, abdominal pain. And, that's one other thing that we as doctors recommend is watching blood pressure. So it's elevated blood pressure with affects other systems like vision or liver. So, again, there may not be any alarming symptoms. All it can have is elevated blood pressures and some lab abnormalities that would prompt the doctors to go the route of preterm birth and emergent deliveries.
So it's listening to your body carefully, I guess, right? In those situations. Back to the NICU center that just opened up in June here at Baylor, Scott and White in Round Rock. It's a level 3. Doctor, tell us about what level 3 consists of.
Yes. So the different levels for NICU. Level 3 NICU is where, the NICU can care for a preterm baby as low as 23 weeks gestation age. It just means providing all the support, breathing support, feeding support, nutritional support they need to thrive. And it's a brand new NICU, and we just started seeing babies who are under 35 weeks, and, we are slowly, and Vida was one of the babies in the first month who had a 35-day stay in the NICU.
Wow.
So 35 days. So you got to develop a bond with not just the baby, but mom and dad as well.
Yes. You were also discussing how you had to learn the names of the staff in the morning and the night shift. How was that getting to know both shifts of staff members in the NICU?
Oh, it was like we were one giant family. I mean, we got to know the nurses, we got to know the neonatologists, nurse practitioners. We got to know everybody, all the way down to the people who clean the rooms. I knew their names. I said hi to them. I mean, we had relationships with everybody there. And so when it did come to discharge day, it was actually very bittersweet. It was very bittersweet. We were hugging, and very sad. The nurses were very, very sad to see Vera. We had developed quite the bond, and we knew everybody's, sort of backstory. We knew if other nurses had kids, we knew their names, we knew how they were doing in school, all sorts of things. Because when you're sitting there all day and all night long, you get to talking to these people, and we are literally just ended up being one huge family. And we all wanted the same thing in common. It's for Vera to do great. So we supported each other. It was wonderful. I miss them to this day. I still think about all of the doctors there and nurses, and I go, man, I hope they're doing okay. There's been a couple of times where my husband and I, since Vera has been discharged, we've brought some donations up to the NICU. We have plans for more donations in the future, mostly just to come say hi. The hardest part is my 3-year-old. He really fell in love with some of the nurses, and they fell in love with him, and they'd bring him coloring books, and they would just talk to him, and he would see them through the door, and he would just run full speed ahead, give them the biggest hugs. And he's like, oh, where's my friend? Where's my friend? And so there's been a couple of times he goes, Mommy, can we go back to the hospital? And I'm like, no, baby, not really. No. So yeah, I mean, we literally have gone just to do donations, just to kind of say hi and peek in and say, hi, how are you guys doing? We miss him. It was really wonderful. It was a wonderful experience.
And today, like we mentioned earlier, today is your first time seeing Dr. Casala again after so much time away. How does that feel, this little reunion here with the four of you?
It feels wonderful. Honestly, it's great seeing Dr. Casala. I have a lot of pride. I am proud to show her, our big girl now. As soon as I got to see Dr. Casala, I'm like, look at how big she is. She was, I don't know if I mentioned this, but she was born at 5 pounds and she's up to 9. So, I mean, like, that's a really big jump. I think when she was discharged, she was about 6 or 7 pounds. So, I mean, quite a big jump. And I'm just proud to show Dr. Casala, look at how well she's doing, look at how good everything's working out for us. And it's just really exciting.
Yeah, let's not forget about Dad. Dad is also in the room. I'm going to pull him up there. We can all see him now. So how does it feel to have this experience and go through this new NICU? What is something you would say to parents who are also in the same situation and are a little bit scared or uneasy about going through that experience that you went through?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just so grateful to be able to talk today and hopefully give a mother and father a little bit of confidence when it comes to this. Caleb and I were so beyond scared. I had preeclampsia with my son. He was born at 37 weeks, so he didn't have to go to the NICU. Thankfully, it was a very smooth delivery. Still a little scary, but smooth overall. So we were not prepared for this. We did not expect this. And we both were incredibly just straight up scared. Our little baby girl was in the NICU. We didn't know what that looked like. We didn't know how long that was. We didn't know the outcomes. We didn't know anything. So I want to just give that confidence to any family or mom that I can of it's okay. It's very scary. Take it day by day. The babies will get better. They have a great team. Everybody wants the same thing. They all want your baby to do well. They want your baby to be better. So just take it with a little bit of confidence. We're going to be okay. It's all going to end up fine. And, feel all the feelings. You can feel being scared, feel being excited, all the different things and celebrate the little wins. I know me and Dr. Casala definitely did that. Oh, she drank an extra, 0.2, or we were in milliliters, 15 milliliters. Oh, she drank this, or grams. They're measured in grams, and we celebrated, 15 grams, 20 grams when she grew. And so just celebrate all of those tiny wins, because that is what the goal is every single day. We want them to grow. We want them to eat more. We want them to do better. Celebrate those wins. Feel all the feelings, and definitely lean into your village if you have one. Just let them know, hey, this is really scary, but we can do this, and you'll get through it together.
And Doctor, regarding that point about the bond and the family that people develop at the NICU center, how do you feel? I mean, because you get to see different families in your shift.
Yes. So again, just being in the NICU is very, very stressful for like any family. And one thing I would talk about our NICU is we have all private rooms, which is very, very useful. And it makes, parents less stressful. Like we can have kids in there, and, it's more bonding time, more skin to skin, more breastfeeding in these private rooms compared to, other NICUs where they're more open pods with multiple crib spaces. So that's one thing very good about Round Rock NICU. Again, having those private rooms really helps families spend day and night through the journey. But again, every family is different. They come from different locations. Some could be right across the street and some 45 minutes away. And having these private rooms really helps some of the families.
And this is good for the growing communities. As we know, Central Texas keeps growing. And before this NICU center that opened up in June, we mentioned earlier that families would have gone to other cities because there wasn't this facility available. So yeah, great news there. Um, any last words, messages you want to for the both of you that you want to share to families out there?
I can definitely say, talking about the rooms, I am so grateful that we had a private room. I was able to figure out pumping, figure out breastfeeding in privacy, and that was such a huge difference. My husband slept on the pull-out couch that they provide for like 2 weeks. He was by her side 24/7. Those tiny things made a huge difference. It was so wonderful. You felt like you were really taken care of. You felt like it was safe, secure. You can do this. You had the ability to stick with your kid. And that is just beyond wonderful. It was so great to have that. And any family that, if a mom's out there right now being told, hey, your kid might have to go to the NICU when they're born, it'll be okay, especially this Round Rock Baylor Scott and White NICU. Wonderful, wonderful staff, wonderful people. It's very, very scary. I completely understand that, but it will be okay. You have a great staff with you. You'll get out on the other side of it, and it will just be a small blip on the baby's timeline. In years from now, it'll be just a tiny, tiny blip. It feels like it will just consume currently, but it will be okay, especially with the staff at Baylor Scott and White Round Rock.
Doctor, any final words or a message you want to get to families out there?
Like Jenna said, having those private rooms is really, really helpful for all the families. Like when I say it's a NICU admission, I always say, hey, we have a pull-out bed where you can spend days and nights, and there's no limitation or restriction on that, and it really helps. And I've just heard from several families out there that they're very glad to have a NICU here for babies who need support, for a few days to a week. Just having it right across, on the same floor across a postpartum is very helpful and less stressful than having to have a baby go out elsewhere to other NICUs prior to opening this NICU. So I'm very glad I'm a part of this team, and we have a wonderful team, nursing team, speech therapists, and amazing nurse practitioners, and the OB team. Shout out to everybody out there. And I'm very glad that, Vera is doing so good, and our reunion here was excellent, and I'm glad we did this.
One question about Vera's big brother. How is he adjusting to the new change at home?
I am so thankful. He's a wonderful big brother. He loves his baby sister. He constantly wants to hold her, and when she cries, he gets her pacifier and gives it to her. He wants to share all his food. Unfortunately, I can't. I'm like, it's a little while until you can do that, brother, but he just wants to share everything with her. He just absolutely adores her, kisses her nonstop. I'm extremely thankful.
So sweet. Well, Jose, you are also creating an article version of this interview that we just did, and that'll be on our website, KXAN.com. Viewers can go to the website, find it on the homepage or under the Simple Health tab, and you can learn more about this story and the new NICU available in Round Rock, right?
Yes, Baylor Scott and White in Round Rock.
Well, thank you all for joining me. Let me include Dad real quick again. Thank you all for joining us here. It was a pleasure to have you guys on, and we will see our viewers again next Monday. Thank you, Jose, for joining us.
Thank you.